Welcome to the deep dive. We're really getting into something special today, looking at an experience way beyond our everyday lives.
Yeah, we're diving into these journal excerpts you sent over from an astronaut's year on the ISS back in, early 2016?
Exactly. And it's not just the science stuff, is it? It's really personal, the challenges, the reflections.
Totally. It paints a picture that's, part extraordinary achievement, part surprisingly normal human stuff, just happening in space.
Right. So our mission here is to kind of pull out the key insights from this unique perspective. What's long-duration spaceflight really like? How does someone change up there?
And find those relatable moments, the things that connect us, even when someone's floating hundreds of miles above Earth.
Okay, so let's jump in. The journal starts with this really striking juxtaposition.
Yeah, the 5th anniversary of the Gabby Giffords shooting, a really heavy personal memory for the astronaut.
But linked immediately to something, well, pretty mundane, almost comically so, right? A broken toilet.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how being in space kind of magnifies the ordinary. He's thinking about this serious event and at the same time remembering fixing this exact same toilet model back on Earth during the shooting 5 years prior.
Wow. So it's not just any failing toilet, it's that failing toilet design.
Apparently so. And he mentions knowing its lifespan was probably up, this sense of dread about it failing on the station.
That detail, the gallon of nastiness or the sphere of urine mixed with sulfuric acid, I mean, that really grounds the whole space experience, doesn't it?
It definitely does. You think gleaming technology, but basic plumbing is still a major concern. It shows how vital that underlying infrastructure is and how much work goes into just keeping things running.
You really can't escape basic maintenance, even in orbit.
Nope. Constant vigilance required. Okay, so then fast forward a bit to January 15th, 2016. There's a spacewalk happening.
Right, but our astronaut is inside this time, watching. And you sense a real feeling of relief.
Yeah, definitely. He acknowledges how amazing spacewalks are, that feeling of being out there.
But he's okay watching this one. More than okay, he says.
And it was a big one. Tim Peake's first official spacewalk as a British astronaut.
So what were they actually doing out there?
Pretty critical stuff. Replacing a failed power regulator that's essential for the station's power.
Can't do much without power.
Exactly. And running some new cables, probably for system upgrades or redundancy. Sounds routine, maybe, but absolutely necessary.
But it didn't stay routine, did it?
No. First, Tim Copra's CO2 sensor starts acting up. They managed it, but still, not what you want out there.
Definitely adds stress.
But then the bigger issue, Copra notices this large water bubble forming inside his helmet.
Water inside the helmet. That sounds terrifying.
Absolutely. And he could hear a squishing sound. That's an immediate red flag. Water in the helmet in a vacuum is incredibly dangerous.
So aboard the spacewalk.
Right.
Get back inside.
Immediately. But what's interesting is how they handled it. The astronaut notes the importance of being methodical, even then.
Ah, the Navy SEAL saying.
Yeah, slow is efficient, efficient is fast, slow is fast. Don't rush, even in an emergency, because mistakes are magnified out there.
That makes sense. Stick to the procedure. Is that kind of thinking drilled into them?
Oh, absolutely. Rigorous training covers not just the how, but the how to think under pressure. Calm, methodical, procedural.
Good to know. And they got back okay.
Yeah, tired, but apparently in better shape than our astronaut and Terry Virts were after their previous much longer spacewalks. The shorter duration probably helped.
Okay, so drama averted. But then, just a few days later, the ISS strikes back.
Seems like it. The Seadra in Node 3 fails. Again.
The dreaded Seadra. You can almost hear the sigh in the journal entry.
Totally. He really hoped he was done fixing that thing. It just highlights the constant upkeep, doesn't it? It's not all glamorous science.
So what does the Seadra actually do? Why the reluctance?
It's part of the thermal control system, basically helps manage heat in that module, critical stuff.
Right.
And fixing it before with Terry Virts had been a real nightmare. Okay. So this time, fixing it with Tim Copra, it was different.
Massively different. He talks about this huge leap in confidence and efficiency.
Because he'd done it before, wrestled with it.
Exactly. He says the last time was a multi-day operation, exhausting, frustrating. This time, he felt like he knew it inside out.
The cardiologist analogy, knowing the heart.
That's the one. A really powerful way to describe that deep, practical understanding you only get from experience. He knew the tricks, the shortcuts.
And they did it much faster.
Yeah, significantly faster. A real testament to learning on the job, even in space. You can feel the sense of accomplishment.
That's cool. Then shifting gears, there's this funny little discovery.
Yeah, like space archaeology. They find Don Pettit's old drink bag from 2012 tucked away somewhere.
Just floating around for 4 years.
Apparently, it perfectly illustrates that zero-G problem things just drift off and get lost in corners.
And he holds it up for Don, who is Capcom. That's brilliant.
Yeah, is this yours? A great little moment of connection and kind of absurd. Totally. Okay, so after that, there seems to be a shift emotionally when he's taking a picture of Houston.
Yeah, that's a really significant moment. After months of being totally mission-focused, he suddenly feels his internal compass, as he puts it, pointing towards home again.
He starts looking forward to return.
Exactly. He realizes he hadn't really allowed himself to think about going back before that. It's like a psychological turning point. The end is starting to feel real.
Which leads us nicely into the next big project, space gardening.
Uh-huh. After growing lettuce, which was, relatively successful.
They moved on to zinnias, flowers, more ambitious.
Much more ambitious. Zinnias are apparently way more delicate, more sensitive.
And the communication lag became a real issue here, didn't it?
Oh, big time. Getting advice from scientists on Earth, water them. Don't water them, but the instructions would arrive too late.
So they do the wrong thing based on old info.
Pretty much, leading to, all sorts of problems. Waterlogging, then mold, then the plants drying out. Super frustrating.
You can imagine. Especially when you're trying so hard, and then someone on social media pipes up.
Yeah, the "you're no Mark Watney" comment.
Ouch. Referencing The Martian. Did that sting, or did it motivate him?
Seems like it lit a fire under him, actually. A desire to prove them wrong, to make these zinnias thrive.
So he asks NASA for what? More control?
Basically, yeah. He asks to take over the watering decisions himself, to use his own judgment, like a gardener on Earth would.
Was NASA keen on that?
Initially skeptical. There were concerns about the mold, the time it would take away from other tasks. It was apparently a pretty big deal, letting an astronaut take that kind of autonomous control over an experiment.
But he argued for it.
He did. He felt he needed that hands-on intuition, and, it worked.
He nursed them back.
He did. He talks about this really rewarding feeling, seeing them recover, and he connects it back to gardening with his grandmother as a kid.
Oh, that's lovely. It makes it more than just data points. It's personal.
Totally. And taking the blooming flowers over to the Russian segment as a centerpiece, that's a great image. Shared humanity, appreciating a bit of beauty.
But then you get the very practical Russian viewpoint.
Yes, Sergei. The conversation about zinnias versus potatoes?
Hilarious. Flowers are nice, but potatoes.
Yeah.
Potatoes you can eat. Or maybe make vodka from.
Exactly. Different priorities for long-term survival in space. It's a funny but telling cultural contrast.
But the flowers did make a splash online.
Huge splash. The photos went viral. People loved seeing something beautiful and relatable growing up there.
And the astronaut connects that success back to future missions.
Right. He makes the point that for Mars, you need that crew autonomy. You can't wait days for instructions from Earth on how to keep your plants or yourselves alive. The zinnia experiment became a sort of proof of concept for that.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, now, brace yourself. The gorilla suit.
Yes. Enter Space Gorilla. Where did that come from?
Apparently his brother sent it up as a gag gift.
Brilliant. And he puts it to good use immediately.
Oh, yeah. Standard zero-G pranks. Scares Tim Kopra floating out of a cargo bag.
Classic. Good for morale, I guess.
Definitely. Entertains the cosmonauts, too. Yeah. Just a bit of needed silliness in a very serious environment.
But his attempts to surprise mission control didn't quite land.
No. He floats into view of the camera wearing it, expecting some reaction, and crickets.
Just silence from Houston. That's almost funnier.
It kind of is. Different worlds, different priorities, maybe. What's a big deal on the station might just be another Tuesday for flight controllers buried in data.
True. But the gorilla didn't stay quiet for long.
No, the collaboration with Tim Peake. The video chasing him through the station set to yakety sax.
That went viral, right? People loved it.
Absolutely. Drew a ton of positive attention to the ISS. A clever way to engage people using humor.
So from the absurd to the solemn, the journal also marks the 30th anniversary of the Challenger disaster.
Yeah, a very sobering moment. They held a moment of silence on board.
And he reflects on watching it happen live as a kid, a reminder of the risks, the sacrifices.
Definitely puts the fun and games in perspective. And then another completely unexpected event.
The dental emergency.
Right. One of the Russian cosmonauts pocks a crown off his tooth.
Oof. Not ideal anywhere, but especially not in space.
And the astronaut mentions the concern about landing in the Soyuz with a loose crown could be dangerous during re-entry.
So what do? Does the astronaut become an impromptu dentist?
Pretty much. They use the onboard medical kit, some temporary cement, and he manages to stick the crown back on.
Wow. Add dentist to the list of required astronaut skills. Resourcefulness is key up there.
No kidding. Okay, so the mission is really winding down now.
Yeah, he gets birthday greetings from the cosmonauts, and then it hits him only 9 days left.
He'd been avoiding counting down.
Seems so. Psychological thing, maybe. But suddenly, the end is right there. Must be a weird mix of feeling.
Excitement, relief, maybe a little sadness.
Probably all of the above, and then the focus shifts to the practicalities of leaving.
Packing up. Soyuz refresher training.
Cleaning out his crew quarters, including leaving a little plastic roach hidden as a joke for the next guy.
And packing gifts he's bringing back for family.
And then there's that email he sends home, the list of things he's craving.
Oh man, that list is something else. So specific. Gatorade flavors, IPA brands.
The smell of rain, walking on grass, a real bed. Such a vivid picture of sensory deprivation, isn't it? All the simple things you miss.
It really is. The broad stuff like family, obviously, but also those tiny details. The smell of cut vegetables, the feel of sheets.
But then there's that counterpoint, the feeling of already starting to miss the station.
Yeah, that anticipatory nostalgia. Missing the camaraderie, the view.
The sense of purpose, the high stakes, it shows how profound the experience is, even with the difficulties.
He's preparing to leave, but part of him is already mourning the loss of this unique life.
Exactly. Saying goodbye to the trash going into the Cygnus vehicle, taking final photos of mementos in the cupola.
Against the backdrop of Earth. He mentions recognizing the Somali plains, just soaking it all in one last time.
And then one last really significant connection before leaving.
The call to Tom Wolfe.
Incredible, right? Calling the author of The Right Stuff from orbit to thank him for the inspiration.
Saying the book basically set him on his path. That's powerful.
And they apparently had a good chat, planned to have lunch when he got back, a real full circle moment.
Amazing. And the final official act.
Handing over command of the International Space Station to Tim Kopra, February 29th, 2016.
Leap day. Marking the end of his command, the end of this year-long journey we've just glimpsed.
Yeah. It sets the stage for his return to Earth.
So reflecting on all this, what are the big takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, for me, it's that blend, isn't it? The sheer extraordinariness of spaceflight, right alongside fixing toilets and watering plants.
Totally. And seeing how an astronaut evolves over that long duration, the focus shifts, that connection to home deepens.
And just that fundamental human need for connection, for beauty like the flowers, for the simple comforts we take for granted, even when you've seen the Earth from above.
It definitely makes you pause and think. Considering everything he experienced, the vastness, the technology, what small everyday things would you miss the most if you were gone for a year? Something to ponder.
For sure.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.